Hi, everyone. Today we are talking to Rachel Croft, author of We Love the Nightlife. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Reagan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. This is so much fun. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Okay, so to start us off, would you give everyone a little summary of your book?
Sure. We Love the Nightlife is about two best friends that decide to open a nightclub together, kind of to get their friendship that's going off the rails back on track. And they just happen to be vampires as well.
They just happen to be.
Happen to be. Yeah, the vampire piece of the puzzle actually did come last because I wanted to write about a friendship breakup because I feel like a lot of times in books and movies, the emphasis is on a romantic breakup, and they are terrible too. But I feel like everyone has at least one friendship breakup that still haunts them, and that's kind of what I wanted to explore. But adding the vampire piece and the genre piece just made it more fun and juicy.
I love it. That's because I was gonna ask. I was like, did you know how like the whole story before, like right whenever you started writing, or did it kind of surprise you as you went?
It surprised me a lot. I was always writing to that ending, which I won't talk about just in case everyone hasn't read it. But that was always the ending I saw and what I was trying to write
Ending
towards.
is insane.
Thank you.
It
I
threw me
didn't
for a
change
loop.
it during like all my drafting because I did do a lot. I mean, I have so many deleted scenes like for this book, but I always knew where I wanted it to end. But no, it changed a lot because initially I thought, okay, I'm going to have the present day timeline with Amber, and then I'll show a little bit of like 1979 into 1980 when Amber turned into a vampire. Then as I kept flashing back, I'm like, oh, it's my book. I can do what I want. Like it would be kind of cool to flash forward to the 90s, to 2006, to 2012. Like I became more of a saga and more sweeping than I had initially conceived of it, which was fun and exciting because I'm someone that I do have a rough outline when I draft, but I feel like my brain works very differently when I'm outlining versus when I'm drafting. So if
Mhm.
something exciting happens while I'm writing, I will push that line aside and becomes
Yep.
useless to me and just go with where my brain is going because it's more fun.
Yeah.
Not
What was
efficient, but
your
fun.
with the because so your book has multiple POVs with Amber and Nicola, but
Mhm.
then you also have different, like you said, timelines with, you have the 1800s, 1900s, and like present day. What POV and time frame was your favorite to write?
My favorite to write, it's hard because I initially Nicola was my favorite character to write. She came very easily to me. I like writing villains, and I felt like I knew her and what she was doing and where she was going. But the story I was telling is ultimately about Amber's escape, and it took me a little longer to get to know her. With my first novel, I had a character B who some people really liked, but a lot of people were like, every character in your book is unlikable. And I was like, okay, for this book, I want to make Amber, I think, universally likable, even though she's doing deceitful things. So for some reason, that became more of a challenge for me. I think because sometimes a likable character can feel, and I'm talking broad strokes here, can feel kind of passive or things are just happening to them. And I wanted, in early drafts, Amber felt a little too soft. And
Mm.
so over time, she became more conniving and more deceitful, but still really fun and funny and how she's kind of talking to the reader. So I love them both, but the time period I liked writing the best personally, there's one chapter in 2006, and that's when I lived in England doing my year abroad. And so I did go to that Arctic Monkeys concert and things like that. So that was just sort of fun
Oh,
to
that's
write
so
about.
cool. I love Arctic monkeys. No, I was gonna say, as an American who wants to live in London, I really loved the fact that Amber is an American living in London.
Thank you.
I
That was
really love
important to me for a couple of reasons. I do think a lot about my readers' experience. And because I was doing dual voices, I knew that by making Amber American and Nicola English, there would be cues and things they say that the reader could track who they're with and where we're doing at any given time. But then I just love England and London so much. I mean, I did my year abroad there, but then recently I got to live there for a few months when my husband was producing a show nearby in England. So I initially was like going to set the story in New York or LA, but I was living in London at the time. I pitched it to my editor and I was like, I should just set this in London. I'm so inspired by the city. I felt like it made the vampire stuff more historical and richer. So it just ended up working out really well. But it's my favorite city in the whole world.
I no, I went to London when I was 10 for the first time and like fell in love with it. And we
Wow.
already have, I'm going, that's where I'm going for my birthday. My parents and I are doing like a trip to London.
Oh, that's
And
going to be
I'm
so
so
fun.
excited. I'm
When's
so
your
excited.
birthday?
January 3rd.
Oh, it's coming up.
So
Cool.
we're doing a little winter London trip. I'm
I
very
love London in the
I've
winter.
never been. I've only been in the spring. Like spring and summer is the only time I've been. And
No,
I'm very
must
excited to
go.
see fall, winter London.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Speaking of London, the book is set in the disco scene of London. What made you pick that setting?
Well, this idea came to me. I was watching, there was a documentary on, I think it's still streaming on Amazon, but it was about Studio 54. And they interviewed one of the guys that started it back then. And one of my big takeaways from the documentary was how sweet their friendship was in kind of an unexpected way. And then I started thinking, oh, what would it have looked like if two women opened a nightclub like that? And so I don't know. My mom really likes disco music, so it's always kind of been in my stream of consciousness, as it were, and I like it. But as far as Nicola and Amber go, they kind of meet at the very back end of it, which I think signifies a lot of where their friendship is going. You know, it's so good until it's not. So it was ended up being a bigger metaphor for the story at hand too. But the short answer to that question is I just liked it.
I love it. No, that's the perfect route. That's where I picked where my book is set. I just loved it. It's also set in England.
Perfect.
Also, I want to say I love your cover so much.
Thank you. I
I
do too. I
love it.
have it hanging in my office.
I feel like it like perfectly encapsulates like the tone and mood of the book.
Thank
I
you.
love it so much. It's so cool. What was like the process
Sure.
for going
So
through the
for my first book, my editor asked me to send over a mood board, and the cover was the first one I got back, and you can kind of see part of it there too. And I loved it. I didn't have any notes. I was like, this is great. So with my second book, I also sent over a mood board, and they sent over a few options, but they were so vampire-y, for lack of a better word. Like they were kind of bloody, and it was very like this is a vampire story. And honestly, even though it is a vampire story, it is sort of the window dressing to a story about a friendship. So I said, listen, I do want something vampiric on the cover, but I kind of just has to be like a taste, like a hint. So when they sent this one over with just that little hint of Fang, I was like, yes, this is perfect. Because I really wanted to play up the glamour, which they obviously did with the lip gloss and their alluring pose. But the same designer did both my books. She's very talented.
We love it. I'm doing so for my book, I just got to like the cover design part and it's so,
Exciting.
so excited. It's so cool. I'm such like a visual person. And so I'm very excited to see that.
When is it coming, or have you seen it already? Are you guys going
Um,
back and forth with notes?
I haven't seen it yet. So you know how did you get like it's kind of how you said a mood board, but like where you have to put like the name, the tone and mood, like the main characters.
Yeah,
So
just kind of describe what's
yes.
happening so an artist can come up with something.
Yes. So I sent that to them and we just did launch.
Mhm.
And so now all of that's gonna start. And we just sent stuff out for like blurbs. I'm very excited.
Awesome. That's so exciting.
Thank you. Um, so also so cool. On top of being an author, you are also a screenwriter,
I am.
which is so cool. Were you an author or a screenwriter first? And how do you balance it?
I was a screenwriter first, and I am still a screenwriter. I love it. But something early in my career that was frustrating me is that typically the opportunities that were coming my way were adapting other people's books, which is like great. And I enjoyed that partially. But there was a part of me that wanted to tell my own original stories. And I knew that if I owned my own IP, I could probably have a better shot at doing that someday. So obviously that's playing the long game because writing books takes much longer. But I really enjoy writing books. So, I did the first one. I was like, yes, I want to keep doing this. And I'm working on my third right now. Like it's always something I want to do in tandem as a screenwriter. And ultimately, I want to direct as well. So as far as balance, I don't know, Raegan. I feel like I'm very medium at it. I tend to do book stuff in the morning and movie TV stuff in the afternoon. I don't know why. I think for me, writing books requires more silence and peace, and my house is just kind of that mood in the morning. And with screenwriting, I feel like I can multitask more. Like if I have to do a meeting in the afternoon, like that's okay. So that's sort of how I balance. But again, I think I just decide, okay, what is my priority for today? Because sometimes, like We Love the Nightlife, I was on a very strict deadline. And I had to work on that almost exclusively for months because we had to get it in before we wanted it to come out, this summer. So I like to say the morning and afternoon thing, but it's not always every day. I mean, you know how it is, like in entertainment, you just have to you're available to the pressing
Yep.
thing at hand, and you have to be really flexible.
Yeah. No, whenever I was, because so I was on set
Mhm,
whenever I was working, like working on the main part of my book, and I
mhm.
would have my computer hidden on set. And then whenever they would say cut in between takes, I would pull my computer out at like the dining room table or something.
Yeah.
Right. And then right before they say action, I would stow it away and then just do that on repeat. And that's how I wrote like a good chunk of my book was just
That's
hiding it on set.
amazing. And you just take the moments that you have and
Yep.
knock out some words.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm more of the kind of person that will like find small chunks of time instead of block out 3 hours. I'm just like, I have 20 minutes. Let's sit down and write something.
That's great. I feel like I need blocks, but I need to be more like finding the windows as things ramp up and get busier.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I feel like my brain starts if I block out time, I start to like drift.
right.
Also, you said you're working on a third book right now.
I am,
Any
but I'm not really. So I'm not telling people what it is yet. What I can share is my first book, even though it was a con artist story, it was actually about a mother-daughter relationship. And my second book is vampires, but it was about a friendship. So my third book is about a marriage. But that's all I'm gonna say for now. Sorry
but
to be
I'm
cryptic.
assuming it has some juicy little
Always juicy. It's part of
always,
the fun. It's
always.
part
We
of the
love it.
I like to think of what can I do with this story that's left of center or different or something that a reader hasn't seen before. That's
Now I'm
kind
like trying to think about what this
of
juicy little add-on. I don't think I'm gonna guess it, but like I'm like what could it be. Um, Going back to We Love the Nightlife. I I loved the story because it feels so different and like fresh from your typical vampire book. Like it's not some broody guy in like a dark shadowy house. It's like a fun and thrilling read that at the end like starts to turn bloody. And I loved it. I thought it was very refreshing. And what made you want to tell this story now?
hmm Well, I do like vampire stories. I will admit I was more True Blood, Interview with the Vampire, like the more like kind of gothic tellings of vampire stories. I kind of missed the Twilight and Vampire Diaries train. I think because that's when I was in my 20s and I was going out a lot or something, but for whatever reason I missed it. But still I feel like so much lore stories are really centered around the men.
Mhm.
And I wanted to write a story that was centered around the women. And there are already vampires. I mean, I know we see Amber turn, but they're already vampires. They're women in business. They're starting a nightclub together with the other girly pop vampires in town. Like it just felt like something I hadn't seen before and something that I would like to read. And that is a big thing I consider when I'm sitting down to write a book. Like, would I want to read this? Like, am I filling a hole where I think other people would enjoy this? So that's why I always say, I'm like, yeah, it's a best friendship story about these crazy girls in London, and they just happen to be vampires.
Exactly.
It's just their everyday reality, like even the way they talk about, and I like how Amber's kind of a secret vigilante in her own way, how she only targets men that are, bad or whatever in her
Yep.
mind, like trying to make good on the fact that they do have to kill people to stay alive. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I
She's
just
the vampire Batman of London.
exactly, exactly. But I felt like we just didn't see enough women vampires in that, and that was a big part of the reason why I chose to do so.
Love it. What was we kind of touched on it, but what was the inspiration for We Love the Nightlife? Are you writing from experience? Are you secretly a centuries old vampire?
Definitely not a vampire, but I did put in a lot of things that I just like or wanted to put in. So I told you how I watched that documentary and I still anticipated like I was like, okay, I want to write about two women opening a nightclub, but I was like, I feel like I'm going to hear that still feels kind of small. And I think that's just from being like in the entertainment industry. I'm like, how can I make this even bigger and better? And I was literally walking my dog and I went, oh my God, Junie, they should be vampires. It's going to blow the whole thing open. It's going to be great. So that's sort of where it stemmed from. But then I did want to put in things in London, like every place that's in the book, except for Tramp. I couldn't figure out how to get in there just yet, but life is long. I will figure it out. But all the other places I got in and I spent time there, and I wanted the book to feel like a trip to London in a lot of ways. Like it's very much a character of the story. So that was important to me. I found London super inspiring while I was writing this book. And I even got to sneak in just things I like as a reader from my past and present. For example, I really love The Secret Garden and Little Princess and kind of these like goth sad stories about sad Victorian orphans. And I even got to sneak in some of that for Nicola's backstory. And then the music was also super inspiring. I mean, my initial drafts, I actually had the chapter titles as different songs. But ultimately, as I continued drafting, it wasn't serving the story in the best way anymore. So I did ditch that. But obviously, music is important. I have an official playlist on Spotify, and I got to sneak in, all the artists that I like, even Pitbull. So
I saw the what you posted on Instagram. It was the copy edits and it was all the references, and that made me laugh. I love it so much. Oh, I love it. No, I also made a playlist and it basically is just all of my favorite artists,
great.
but it somehow works with the story. And I'm like, no, this works, guys. This works.
It
Trust me.
does. It does work, Raegan, because it is your book. And I think being specific in your writing actually makes people relate to it more. It's something that I just think it makes a world feel richer. And there is some reader that's going to see that specific weird thing you put in and go, me too. That feels so good.
No, my readers when they read the book, they're going to be hearing a lot about Billie Eilish, Girl,
Great.
and Arctic Monkeys.
Perfect.
That's that's my references right there.
You have a reader right here. I can't wait.
Um, I had a question. Oh, yes. The twist at the end. I mentioned how much it threw me for a loop, but I really did not see it coming. Um,
Okay.
did you planted seeds as the story went along? I'm not going to reveal what the twist is,
Mhm.
but there was some little hints as the story went along. Did you want readers to figure it out, or did you genuinely just want to be like, this is what it is? I was like, some witty reader could have figured it out. That's not me. I'm not that witty reader, but someone out there.
I think all thriller writers, when you're writing a twist, you want the reader to get there and be very surprised and shocked, but then go, oh, yeah, of course. Like you want it to hit and make sense. It's not an easy thing to do. Like there are times when you're writing, and because you already know the twist, so you're not going to surprise yourself. And you're second guessing, like, am I giving too much in this chapter as a hint? Am I not giving enough? Because you really want to hit that exact sweet spot where it happens. You didn't see it coming, but you totally understand how it got to be there. And then if you read it again, it's actually kind of fun to like see where all of those seeds are planted. But that's part of drafting for me that happens a little bit later because I do feel like you really have to refine what you're doling out in a way that doesn't totally give it away. Because I prefer when a reader is surprised, not, oh, I saw that coming. I mean, some people are like that, I guess, but I would rather surprise and delight the reader than have them figure
Yeah.
it out.
As a
I'll read.
as a reader, I also would rather be surprised.
Yeah,
No,
I think
I know a thriller author who what she does is after she writes it with like the hints and stuff, she'll send it out to readers, and if they guess it before she wants them to, she rewrites it.
no, that's huge. Like beta readers, I had so many people read this before because I'm like, does this twist hit? Because I've read this now so many times that I don't have the perspective to know if like this is working in the way I want it to work. And
Mhm.
that is why you need other people's eyes on it. And once everyone was at the point like, oh, I didn't see that coming, I was like, oh, perfect, great. We're
Perfect. It all worked out.
yeah.
No, I have my best. Do you know Annabelle's book club?
Yes.
So Annabelle's my best friend, and
Oh, I love Annabelle. I love her shop.
her she's the sweetest. She just went to college, and I miss her so much.
Oh, that's fun.
Um, but when I was writing, I she had the live Google Doc, and
Hmm.
she was like the guinea pig reader. And
That's so great.
I would text her and be like, "Hey, there's three new chapters. Let me know what you think." And then she'd
Mhm.
be like, "I'm looking at you typing right now," and I'm like, "You really have the unfiltered access." She had whatever comes earlier than the rough draft.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good to have readers you trust at different phases too. Like my best friend Liz, I send her everything early because I know all she's gonna do is gas me up. She's just gonna say, "This is great. This is the best thing I've ever read." Like she's just like total cheerleader. And then I send to some other readers where I actually want to be like, "Okay, where are the holes? What do we need more of? What do we need less of?" And that's, a different group.
Yeah.
And then I'll send a final copy back to Liz because just to reassure me that it's still good.
How do you find your beta readers? Like, is it people you know?
For me so far in my career, it's all people I know. I know there are some authors that will actually like call for beta readers like that have already read their books and they trust them in that way. I haven't done that yet. I'm open to doing it at some point, but I'm lucky that I'm friends with a lot of writers and they look at things differently, but I'm also friends with a lot of readers. So I'm in a book club. I'm the president. We are in our 11th year now. And I send it to a lot of my friends in my book club that aren't writers because they're voracious readers. They're going to look at it in a different way than someone that is a writer and a reader. So it's very cool. So yeah, everyone I know on some level. And then of course my editor and my agent. And I should mention my husband is also my first reader and he reads every draft because he's a producer. He works in the business too, and he
Mm.
gives really good notes but he's still a good cheerleader. It's great. It's a good collaboration.
You get the honesty with the also like the
Yeah.
gassing up, like a little bit of like the ego boost.
Yes. But I do want the honesty. And he's so
Yeah.
smart and thoughtful in his notes. Like I'm always looking forward to getting his notes, even if sometimes they're challenging, because I know we just want to make it better.
Yep. Also, what do you hope readers take away from the book?
From We Love the Nightlife. I mean, it sounds trite, but I feel like there's not enough emphasis in literature sometimes put on this. but I want my readers to have a good time. I liken all my books. I like to throw parties in my life, and I liken writing my books to throwing a party. I want people to come. I want them to meet interesting people they haven't met before. I want them to laugh, maybe have a serious conversation with someone in the corner and get a little emotional. But by the end, they're like, God, that was so fun. I can't wait for the next one.
That I don't know if I've ever heard anyone just say like they want the readers to have a good time.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I love reading a book where I'm laughing out loud. I do try to make my books funny, even when they're dark and serious and vampires are at each other's throats and killing people. There's still some
There's
like
still
fun
got to be some humor.
to be had. Yes, exactly.
I love that. No, because I feel like because for me, writing is like just it's like a very like cathartic,
Mhm.
like creative outlet. And I personally just writing, it's just me having like a good time and just having fun. And like I'll write a joke for the characters and I'll like laugh at something like that what someone says or something. And I feel like I also apply that to how I read because I
Mhm.
do like important messages, but I also think having a good time is an important message.
And I think you can do both. Like a book is an escape. You want your reader to be immersed in the world you've created, and by the end, want to read, the next thing you write because you did a good job by your reader. I always want my readers to feel like they can trust me where I'm taking them, even if it's because I know when I announced I was writing a vampire book after writing Stone Cold Fox, people were like, what the heck? Like it was such a big swing, but I like taking big swings. It's more fun for me. I think it's engaging for my readership, and I always bet on myself. I always like to take a risk and take a chance because that's what being creative is all about.
Yeah, we love genre swings.
I
They
think so too. I mean, I wrote the book. I always write a book that I would read.
I like to say I read how I write because I read every genre and I write
Yeah.
every genre. I have like it's all across the board, really. People would be like, "What's your favorite genre?" I'm like, "All of them."
I know I couldn't pick. I'm a mood reader. Are you? Like I feel like
Yes.
certain times a year I'll definitely want to crack into like a big sad family saga. Like I love those books. Like have me crying at the end, please.
Mhm.
But if you give me one of those books in the summer, I'm like, I don't want to read this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, wait till the temperature
Yeah,
starts.
I don't want to cry at the pool.
Yes. No, because I feel like I read in phases. And so
Mhm.
I'll be like in a huge, I don't know what kick I'm in right now. I feel like I'm in a fantasy kick.
Yeah, that makes sense though. October,
Fantasy, right?
November, you know.
Yeah. I've been in a fantasy phase for a while though, so
Yeah.
we might be towards the tail end of that. Um, but I feel like during the summer, which is to be expected, it's very like rom-com, coming
Mhm.
of age books that I read. And then
Yeah.
during like the fall, it's like spooky vampire books,
Aw.
and like Harry Potter, like I was saying.
Yes.
It's very much stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm a
Yep.
seasonal reader.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Also, I know you mentioned this earlier, how you started writing books because you wanted to turn them into movies and TV. Is there anything that you could say there?
Well, with We Love the Nightlife, I'm having all of those meetings right now. So it's very exciting. I'm excited about all these opportunities. I don't have news to announce yet, but it's looking really good. So
Mhm.
I'll let you know when I have more intel. But right now it's figuring out who the best partners are and where it's gonna land. So I'm very excited because I just feel like as I was writing it, I was like, oh my God, this would be such a good TV show or movie because it's very cinematic and I just selfishly want to see it play out,
Yeah.
particularly the ending.
Are you like a cinematic kind of author?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just because I want to adapt them, but like one of the things I love about writing books is that I feel like I can direct on the page in a different way than as a screenwriter. And that's not to say you're not being creative and visual as a screenwriter, because you are, but you have to keep it really snappy because
Yeah.
it's script. Like you just don't have much real estate on the page. Whereas like with a book, and I really leaned into it with this book, I could talk about what the Laurels, that's the house the girls live in, what it looks like, what they're wearing at these clubs. Like I got to talk about like all of like the feathers and the lace and everything really
Yeah.
specifically, even how they move as dancers. Like I was in my office, 'cause I'm a dancer, or I was when I was a kid, but like I could I was doing the moves and figuring out how to like write them where the reader could picture it. Because I did want readers to feel like, not that they were watching a movie necessarily, because they're different, but I wanted them to like be able to see what was on the page in a very tactile, sensual way.
Yeah. Speaking of the Laurels, I partially want to move into the Laurels now.
I know.
I love it so much. It's so
Me
cool.
too. When
It's
you
my,
go to London, go to the neighborhood Hampstead by the Hampstead Heath. It's really cute. You can take the train right from the center of the city, but there's all these old, beautiful mansions, and I took pictures of them as inspiration for the Laurels. And they have a really cute city center that feels very charming and lovely with cobblestone streets and things. But that's the neighborhood where the girls live.
I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I will be
You'll
going.
love it. You'll love
Will
it.
be going. Also, this is my last question, but it
Okay,
is one of my favorites.
I can't wait.
What are you currently reading right now?
Oh, so with my book club, I'm in the early stages of it. We're reading the book Horse by Geraldine Brooks.
Ooh,
But other books I've read recently that I just loved. I read this book called Beautyland by Marie Helene Bertino. I think you
okay.
might like it. The concept sounds really bizarre, and it is, but it's such a beautiful book, and it tracks this woman's life from her birth, and she's convinced she's not of the earth, that she is an alien, and she corresponds with her home planet via fax machine because it starts off in the in the 80s. It's a really beautiful book on the human experience. I loved it way more than I thought I would from the description. I mean, I knew I would like it, but it ended up being it's one of my favorite books of the year.
Oh,
I also love Mad Woman by Chelsea Beaker.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's very good. And oh, I read Ina Garten's memoir the other day. I absolutely loved it. It was really charming, which of course, because she's very charming. And it's not out yet, but my friend and author, Katie Hayes, her next book is coming out, I believe, in March, and it's called Saltwater. And it's a big murder mystery in Capri in Italy. And it's just really sexy and fun and good. And
I love Capri, so I love this already.
yeah, it's wonderful. So put that on your pre-order list for sure.
What's it called?
Saltwater,
I
all
need
one word.
That's amazing. Okay. I have written all of these down. I will be looking at them now.
Awesome.
I love book recommendations.
Oh, me too. It's like, what are you reading? Tell me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it on my
I feel
TBR.
like I feel like people like someone who gives like a book recommendation, like they're like, this is such a good book. It kind
Mhm.
of shows what kind of person they are. Like it
Totally.
was like a little piece of their soul.
Totally. That they want to share with you. Like
Yep.
my book club and I for the holidays, we do a Secret Santa book club where, you pick someone, and because we all know each other so well now, you like really try to think of a book that you loved that they'll love too. And it's just a really special exchange.
So cool. Also, I love book club. Oh my God.
It's the best.
People who are in book clubs are so cool, let me just say.
I love my book club so much.
They're pretty cool. I'm a bit biased, but
Obviously.
I think they're pretty cool.
They're the best. Love talking about books. Could do it all day.
No, seriously though, me going to a library is a problem
I
because I
know.
will look at all the books and I will talk to everyone there. Problem.
Do you get shush?
No, seriously, my poor mother, I like drag her around. Whenever we were in London, I wanted to go to all the bookstores.
Oh,
And
they're
she's
the
just like, my mom's a reader, but she's not like, let's go walk around to every single bookstore on the one day we have in London.
right.
I'm like, no, that's the perfect day.
It is a perfect
I don't
day.
need to do anything else in life.
It's so nice.
And I was just in, and then I was just in San Francisco, and then I went to Seattle recently. And in those two places, they have a bunch of old bookstores.
Yeah.
So, it was
It's
so cool.
nice.
I got like I got Emma, um, but it was from the late 1800s.
Oh, that's so cool. I
And it's
love like
like
an old
a dark
edition.
blue, it's like a small dark blue leather bound book. And it's so simple, but it is so beautiful. And I am obsessed with it. And I have
I
a little
love
shelf
that.
of my rare books.
I love that. That's really special.
It's so cool. I love it. Oh, I if you are ever up near where did I get this? It was either in like Monterey or in San Francisco. No, yep, it was in Carmel. It
Oh, one of my
was,
favorite places.
if you're ever in Carmel, let me know because there is a bookstore there that just sells old books, and there's not any books like past like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
I
Highly recommend.
love.
If you
All
go,
right.
let me know.
Yeah, next
If you want.
time. We go there, my husband and I, 'cause we do like the wine. We go at least once a year.
It's beautiful. I had never been until recently, and I
It's
love it.
so pretty there. We went in February. My husband wanted to see the golf tournament there. I
Um,
frankly didn't care that much. The time I got most excited is I saw some of the girls from the Golden Bachelor. I was like, oh, now I'm entertained.
the Golden Bachelor is so cute, by the way.
So cute.
It's so
But yeah,
adorable. Oh my
watching
God.
golf, it turns out in person for me, not the most thrilling avenue. But the beauty around it was amazing because as you know, Carmel is just stunning.
Carmel's
So
stunning. I love
next
it. And
time
the
I'll bring a
drive,
book and sit
like
on the
just the
bench.
drive too, like on the coast is all so pretty. I love it.
So beautiful. It's so beautiful. So next time he wants to watch golf, I'll bring my book.
Yes. Yes, you can go to the old bookstore, you can get the old book, and then you can bring it to the golf tournament.
That's right.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my
It's
pleasure,
so much fun.
Reagan.
It's
You're
so much fun to meet
lovely.
you.
Good to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.